Travis Wayne Goodsell. We have late breaking news on this Friday. So depending on how long this video takes will depend on whether it comes out today or tomorrow morning with the other video I've already done, but is all about 2 hours long. So that one's coming out tomorrow for sure. But let's check and see if James Huntsman's learned his lesson this time. Because James Huntsman's lawyers finally got their appeal in. I thought they had till back in October last year. Why is it February? Did they put in for an extension and now they're doing it? There's supposed to be 90 days to appeal. Something's weird that I'm not privy to, having sued the church twice. Maybe it's just because they're lawyers, they can get away with stuff. So, Salt Lake Tribune, to read the article by Tony Semerad. It was an hour ago, so anytime during the 6 o'clock hour. As I guess the deadline would have been 5 p.m. in California time. So attorneys for James Huntsman say a California federal judge erred when he tossed out the wealthy former Utah's fraud case against the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints over millions their client paid in tithing. Good. Don't put donations. Tithing. In an appeal filed late Friday with the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. It is a different court. So it must have been with prejudice then. Okay. Well, if they couldn't appeal if it was I don't know. The brother of former Utah Governor John Huntsman Jr. and former U.S. Ambassador to Russia and former losing candidate for the governor's race of Utah, second time around in the 2020 election. Let's see. The lower court was legally incorrect in concluding no reasonable jury would believe his accusations. Yeah, they didn't provide us with their document for him. That's interesting. Because any reasonable jury would believe, especially if they weren't Mormon, biased to the church, that top LDS Latter-day Saint leaders lied about how much donations. No! They did not listen to me when I sent them that. I sent their lawyers, his lawyers, the whole thing on tithing that they were supposed to confirm with James. Los Angeles-based lawyers for James Huntsman are arguing that U.S. District Court Judge Stephen V. Wilson inappropriately ignored critical testimony. Well, yeah, that's because the church made him an offer he couldn't refuse. But we don't know about it, and neither did the lawyers. From IRS whistleblower and striking down. Ignored critical testimony, yeah. The whistleblower, striking down Huntsman's suit as part of a pattern, they say, of the judge weighing evidence he shouldn't have. Yeah, that's how the church does it. They corrupt the justice system. The court filing calls Huntsman's assertions and contrary arguments from the church that it didn't misrepresent spending of tithing funds. A clear light was red light was green scenario, asserting that those diametrically opposed views by law should be decided by a jury, not the judge. Well, it depends. Did you guys file it for a judge to decide or for a jury to decide? And so, yeah, scribbed. So you got to pay for it. David Nielsen. Yeah, so I was right, as I was wondering what last name it was, because the whole Northern European countries have different spellings for the same name. Nielsen, Nelson, 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 Nielsen, Nielsen, depending on which of those countries they're from. A farmer has a pain in the butt doing genealogy until you have a chart that tells you this country spells it this way, this country spells it that way. And so yes, I've got several family names from those countries, and that was important information to know and have. Especially the app versus so I've been away from genealogy for too long. There's different son ofs depending on which country too. Oh, right. See, it's been too long. The son of is the son part at the end of Nils. Nielsen. So it's David, son of Nil. Too long. An investment arm of the Utah-based faith offered inside knowledge. Well, I might get confused. It could be the Apostolic Brethren. They're a Utah-based faith. Offered inside knowledge of church finances and its handling of tithing, the brief states. Yet Wilson dismissed that evidence while giving credence to opposing testimony from a church official who was not as intimately involved in the church's financial affairs. Yeah, the judge was threatened by the church. There is an undeniable triable issue of fact concerning Mr. Huntsman's fraud claim, his attorneys say in their 55-page filing that you have to pay $10 for. And thus this case cannot be resolved on summary judgment and must proceed forward to trial. Huntsman's appeal also says Wilson misapplied legal definitions of fraud and that evidence submitted by the church to back its assertions does not actually support its position. Yeah, the church presidency came out and confessed that they're guilty. They confessed. I just did the video. That was today's video, wasn't it? Or is it the one I'm putting out tomorrow? I'm pretty sure it's today's video, not the one for tomorrow. Which, if I don't get this up and finished, and it doesn't look like I will now. Maybe. We'll see. By the church to back its assertions does not actually support its position. Huntsman urged the Ninth Circuit to reverse Wilson's summary judgment and remand the case back to the U.S. District Court. Lawyers for the church have until March 7th. Monday? No, that February. We're in February. I was going to say, that's awful quick. And on the weekend, that usually, yeah. So, yes. Something is coming. La 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 la. To respond, court documents say, when contacted Friday, a church spokesman did not immediately offer a comment to the appeal. Of course not. Reached in California, Huntsman declined to comment, as did his lead attorney. Why? So This is a perfect opportunity to spread it around the world that the church is a crime, a criminal organization. David Jonelis with the LA firm Lavley and Singer, who cited his firm's policy of not commenting on pending litigation. The high-profile case sprang up in March when Huntsman, son of the late... this may actually... Okay. Yeah. Tomorrow. Son of the late Utah industrialist philanthropist John Huntsman Sr. sued his former faith in federal court, alleging that then President Gordon B. Hinckley, who also committed the crime with the Perpetual Education Fund that I just did the video of the other day, and other senior Latter-day Saint authorities had misrepresented how regular donations from members were spent. Regular or tithing? While leaders said over the pulpit and other public statements that tithing funds... See, you're pissing me off. Tithing funds went only towards aspects of the church's religious endeavors. Building buildings, building temples, publishing Book of Mormons. There was a time where the bishop's tithing settlement, the bishops were required to read to each of us that what the money is used for. Whether it's still done, I don't know, I don't care, doesn't matter. Huntsman insisted leaders instead fraudulently diverted up to $2 billion to 2 commercial operations. And so, yeah, if they're not donations as tithing, it's even worse. A church-owned insurance company, Beneficial Life, in City Creek, in its luxury retail mall in downtown Salt Lake City. But that's not the problem. The problem is the tax fraud. If you paid attention to the whistleblower, Huntsman, a former Utahn who now lives near San Diego and resigned from the church in 2020, alleges he essentially was misled over his tithing. Yeah, we all are. The practice in which faithful Latter-day Saints pay a tenth of their yearly income to the global church. See, they even record it. The Salt Lake Trib guy puts it in here that it's not donations. See, tithing, the practice of which faithful Latter-day Saints pay a tenth of their yearly income to the global church of 16.6 million, which that part is incorrect. But nonetheless, we cannot be worthy, faithful, if we're not paying and tithing. We have to pay. It's not a donation if you have to pay. How hard is this to understand? It's like the food bank thing that I did for you in the video. You don't have to give them donations. You don't have to give them food. It's a donation. You freely give it. And there's no threats, there's no pressure, there's no withholding of anything from you. But tithing is. How hard is this to understand? How can these lawyers screw this up? How can James screw it up? Citing 5 separate instances when Huntsman said Latter-day Saint leaders made misleading statements regarding tithing. Yes, when it's over the pulpit of conference, it's a blatant crime that can be used as evidence in court. So when Nelson came out with the revised temple questions for worthiness interviews, yes, tithing, number 10. I did the videos. I even had on the screen at that point, number 10. It's not complicated. And all he wants to do is recover the $5 million. So this is it. He just wants the $5 million back. But I'm sure the church, if they give in to this billionaire, they'll have to give in to the poor and the needy who've been forced to pay tithing, to sacrifice food, medical, and shelter and clothing and other stuff, basic necessities, to give tithing to the church. It's not a donation. Church lawyers acknowledged the spending of church-owned commercial ventures, but countered repeatedly that the cash was drawn from interest earned on tithing, not tithing itself. Yeah. Because that's what the whole Ensign Peak Advisors is. It's not for tithing, it's for the 10% taken out that Nelson confessed to. The parable of the talents. The leaders never deceived members. Hinckley was clear in 2003 statement of the Phase General Conference, 2 years after the Perpetual Education Fund scam, in referring to the money going to the City Creek as coming from church-owned commercial entities and earnings of invested revenue reserve funds. Distinction without a difference. Church's legal briefs detailed how Latter-day Saint officials moved the money in question through various accounts. It's called money laundering, to keep it separate from actual tithing funds. Huntsman's appeal refers to the church's long-winded and hard-to-follow factual narrative. An attempt to confuse the issues. Yep, bingo. That's part of what's in this video that's coming out tomorrow, which you're finding out today, which is not today, it's tomorrow, as I'm speaking prophetically into the future for tomorrow. Dear God. Let's see. The redactions, it says, were ironically premised on the notion that the church's own members and the public at large should be kept in the dark as to how the church has used its tax-exempt funds, despite the fact that the secrecy is what gave rise to the fraud here in the first place. Wilson struck down Huntsman's lawsuit in a short September 14th summary judgment ruling, saying that no reasonable juror could ignore the distinction within Hinckley's statement. Huntsman's suit, Wilson wrote, because for the Perpetual Education Fund, oh my God, Hinckley just lied through the whole thing. I did the video. Dear God. That man just lied. Purposely left information out, lied about information, and included information that did not exist to purposely mislead us. He not properly considered the full statement made by Hinckley. Yeah, so for a judge to botch that as much as he did, yeah, the church pressured him somehow. There's some behind-the-scenes action that threatened his family, threatened his career, something, because he's a California judge. He's not a Utah judge. Something happened. Even though Huntsman blew it by calling tithing a donation, the other stuff from the whistleblower was clear enough. And here, billions in rainy day fund. They're not allowed to have a rainy day fund. Huntsman's case drew heavily on separate allegations made by the whistleblower. In 2019, filed a complaint with the IRS accusing church officials of amassing $100 billion, which is now over $200 billion, and the news keeps reporting the $100 billion still, but never spent on charity in potential. It is a violation just because the IRS is refusing to investigate and refusing to investigate after I asked the U.S. Attorney General to have it reinvestigated. The government seems to be compromised too. He provided a sworn statement in support of Huntsman's case, citing personal knowledge that funds in the Ensign account were all referred to as tithing. Yeah. But taken from tithing. And the church, Nelson, confirmed this. Why didn't they bring out that statement? I did it in the video. God, why don't they consult me? Nielsen's whistleblower case also aired claims that the church had secretly diverted $1.4 billion to City Creek Center and another $600 million to Beneficial Life, while telling church members otherwise. Yeah, it's called money laundering. His affidavit in Huntsman's case said the principal tithing money from church members was commingled with Ensign Peak's earnings, and that no distinction had been drawn between the source of the two funds. While working at Ensign Peak, the appeal notes, Nielsen learned that its tithing funds were administered by a committee There's a whole Wikipedia page on this. This is not some secret knowledge. It's the whole prophets and the bishopric. The Council on the Disposition of Tithes. Does the author of this, does he not know this? What's his name again? Tony? Do you not know this? Do you not know anything about the church? Do we need to get Peggy in? Does Peggy need to do this case for you, this article for you? Now I lost my place. There it is. It also said the church offered no evidence to refute Mr. Huntsman's contention. Yeah, they even confirm it with the First Presidency statement. Yeah, we committed a crime. What are you going to do about it? That tithing money was used to bail out Beneficial Life. Yeah, it's called money laundering. And instead focused solely on City Creek allegations. With that omission, the appeal says the church was implicitly conceding that tithing funds were in fact used for that improper purpose. Yes! The church! Let me bring it up again for you. Hopefully, it's still in the lineup. It's not. So, let's see. Presidency statement. Yep, there it is. December 17th, 2009, official statement. Do you understand this? Official statement. First Presidency statement Official statement on church finances. Statement provided in response to media stories, not the news. We take seriously the responsibility to care for the tithes and donations received from members. The vast majority of these funds are used immediately to meet the needs of the growing church, including more meeting houses, temples, education, humanitarian work, and missionary efforts throughout the world. Yeah, 90%, yes. Over the years, a portion is methodologically safeguarded. I've been practicing. Safeguarded through wise financial management, not if you're a tax-exempt status, and the building of prudent reserve for the future, not if you're tax-exempt status. This is a sound doctrinal, no, it's not, and financial principle taught by Jesus, created by Constantine, not the Mormon God, or Christ, in the parable of the talents. I refer you to that video going over the parable of the talents. And live by the church and its members. All church funds exist for no other reason than to support the church's divinely appointed mission. Not if you want to be tax exempt. Claims being currently circulated are based on narrow perspective and limited information. Yeah, are you referring to my video? Yeah. The church complies with all applicable law as we threaten the federal government and any other government official to side with us, covering our donations, investment taxes, and reserves. We continue to welcome the opportunity to work with officials in threatening them with any questions they may have. God. Why didn't you just quote that, guys? That's an official statement. They don't do what they need to do. Okay. Subsequent public filings with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission beginning in early 2020 have revealed Ensign Peak account holds between $40 billion and $50 billion in an expansive investment portfolio. Yeah, that's the additional portfolio, but that was way back in 2020. In 2021, the church disclosed to Fox 13 News Utah, which Fox 13 News Utah said they're investigating. And then said, the church gave us the information. An expansive investment portfolio, heavily well-known technology and blue-chip stocks. Church leaders but he also talked about the $100 billion making more than what members give in tithing every year. They don't need members anymore. Church leaders have called the account a rainy day fund. Yeah, the bishopric then followed the first presidency statement with their video coverage of it, and again said, yeah, for a rainy day. Presiding bishopric. I've got that video. I've used that video. They can't do that. They want to be tax exempt? Well, you can't save for a rainy day. And it rained and poured in 2020, and still is raining and pouring, and the church won't do anything with it. And so, yeah, they lie when it's a rainy day fund. To help pay for, among other items, its operations in poorer parts of the world. No. Again, the process is that LDS charities used for poorer parts of the world is a separate thing altogether with a separate financial company, and the money is all donated. That's actual donations. And they do the same thing, take out 10% and put it in an investment company that just sits and collects interest in violation of tax law. And so the Millers, likewise, paid for volume 26 of the Joseph Smith Papers. And that, again, another investment company. Just another, and another, and another, and another, and another. They have dozens of different investment companies. For every single operation that takes in money, they have a different investment company for. Because they can't have one no more than just the one. They have to keep it a sacred secret from everybody. Only the prophets and the presiding bishopric know the actual total asset value of the church. And so all this talk about Africa, oh, they're struggling, and we're helping. No, you're not helping. Other people who donate are helping. You're profiting off of this. And you're committing crimes to profit off of this. Because if they were not doing this investment crap, then everything would be fine. If tithing was not a forced protection racket, everything would be fine. If it wasn't required for worthiness, everything would be fine. There would be nothing to complain, nothing to argue about. But they are doing the criminal activity, and so there is a big stink when our government won't shut them down. They have said the money is less about stashing cash for the second coming, as widely reported when the whistleblowers' action came to light. Yeah, the first presidency, I just read it to you. Parable of the Talents. What do you think that's about? He comes back to take a report from these guys. They are not referencing the proper documents. And more about providing the worldwide church with financial protection against events such as an economic crises and recessions. And here it is. The IRS has taken no public action against the church in the wake of Nielsen's complaint. They're googly mooglies. So, tomorrow, which is today for you, I'm a prophet, speaking into the future as though it were yesterday.